Good morning. It's Trish with Hip Homeschool Moms. I am here with Dorinda. Dorinda, introduce yourself.
Oh, I am Dorinda Wilson.
And she's with Simple Nourishing Home.
Yeah.
And Heidi?
Good morning. Heidi Saravola here. It's from starts8.com.
And Lisa Pennington.
Hi, trying to adjust my screen. Lisa Pennington, the Pennington Point.
Yay.
Hey,
And we're all here.
girls.
We're bright and shiny and smiley. Y'all would never know that we had, I was chasing all of them this morning. It was like, wow, everybody. Lisa has a new computer, so we're learning Lisa's
Yes.
computer.
Ugh,
And,
awful.
uh-oh. And it's fun, though. What'd you get? What, is it 8? What'd you
Surface.
say you got? Windows
I
8?
got a Microsoft Surface. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so
Yeah,
see,
hopefully at some point it will be.
we're techno geeks, right?
I'm glad to be married to one, I'll say that.
I'm not even married to one.
Oh, no.
I'm not either. Well, I am, but he's not. He's over here when I'm doing these. So anyway, so it has been already. Today is Tuesday, and so it is like crazy busy at my house. Are y'all feeling like summer is like racing by, and it's like I'm busier
Yes.
during the summer than I am during school? What's going on?
I know.
Isn't it crazy? It's been a busy, busy, busy summer. So, okay, well, let's get to some questions. We've got a ton of questions today. So, I hope we can get to all of them. I'm going to start with the ones that they asked specifically last night. So, if they sound random, y'all, it's because I haven't put them. I'm just asking the ones they asked, okay? Okay, so the first one was, do you give homework to your kiddos? And if so, how much and how often? We'll let Dorinda start. We know she doesn't. We know she doesn't.
Yeah, you're right. I don't. I'm thinking, okay, we're doing schoolwork at home. Isn't that homework?
Right,
So
there you
no,
go.
actually, we really have always tried to get our schoolwork done by noon. Of course, as the kids got more into junior and high school, that got a little less realistic. But for the most part, we try to have most or all of it done by lunchtime because we have other things we need to do. So, so definitely a no on the homework.
I figured that. Heidi?
Yeah, we do school at home. So I guess to me, that is homework, right? So yeah, no, we try to get done. We're off and running by 3 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, we're done for the day. I mean, sometimes obviously earlier than that, but my daughter has to be at the gym, so we're out of the house by 3. We got soccer, we got sports, nobody wants to be dealing with anything at night. So, I mean, I don't know if the concerning homework, if they're, if they're thinking just independent work, but my teenager does most of her work independently, so it's sort of like homework.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like we have a formal class time and then I say, okay, you have this to get done at such and such a time or anything. So I would say no homework. Everything is homework, so to speak, in our house. And yeah, like Dorinda, we're done by 3 o'clock for sure. We're done. Like I said, my teenager is sometimes going later, or my younger two will do larger project activities in the afternoon from like 1 to 2 o'clock. You'll find us doing art or some science project or something that takes a little more time to roll out and do. We'll do that in the afternoon together, but no homework.
Mm-hmm. Lisa?
Heck yeah, we give homework. This is why this is such a great group, because I love hearing all the different. Yeah, I just do a formal lesson and then give them assignments, and they're responsible to do it during school time. So
Right.
Yes,
Right.
I would
So
say yes. I give out a lot of homework.
it's independent work.
Exactly, but that's what homework is, right? I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. I know when I was growing up, I went to a little country school and had the most awesome teacher. When we'd walk in the door, he would have all the assignments up on the board, and had a responsibility to write them down on a little index card. And at the end of the day, if you didn't get it all done in class, then you took it home as homework and then had your parents sign it off every single night. So that's kind of what sort of stuck in my mind was if we can get this stuff done in a reasonable amount of time, then I'm not going to give them extra stuff, or, it's mainly if they take ownership, get the job done, then they don't have to do it later on when it's free time, So
That's sort of
that's
my
kind of
philosophy. We do. We have, and we actually do have homework too, but my homework is bigger projects. We do, like research, or if they're having to study out a governmental system or something like that, that they can do that during class if they're finished with class, or they do it after hours. So it just depends on, how they manage their time as to when they do
right.
it. So it's, but we also have the natural consequence thing. So if you goof off during class
Yep.
and it feeds into other time, then yeah, that's a natural consequence. So yeah, it depends
Right.
on your. So what you're hearing from our panel is that it depends on how you homeschool, but in general, we look at homework as either a natural consequence or a bigger project or something like that. It's not necessarily something we assign. We
Right.
assign
I
work.
do.
By
I do.
Do you
And
literally give homework
by
to?
Lisa,
yes.
She's always such a rebel.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow. She is
We're
a
different.
little rebel.
That's the fun part of it. Yep.
I'm so mean. Okay. I'm just going
We
to tell you
love
anyway
you,
because
Lisa.
I'm doing it for the people out there that'll be nice
That's
to me.
right. That's
Uh,
right.
every Monday I give a homework assignment that is due Friday, and it's usually an art project or some sort of cooking thing or some sort of oral report or something they're going to have to present to the family, and they have to do that totally after hours, totally on their own time.
Yeah, I like
Every
the
week.
cooking thing. The cooking thing. Hey,
That is-
yeah, you need to make dinner.
Well, it might be cultural. Yeah, no, like a history a recipe from a Roman whatever,
There
that
you
kind of
go.
cooking. Not like make dinner tomorrow.
Darn.
No, Lisa does have
I
that.
know.
Don't let her fool you. We all know how Lisa does it.
Oh
Her
yeah,
girls take it
they're
months at
already
a
having
time.
to do that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so I like that. That's actually a pretty interesting idea. That's sort of, like I said, when I give them those bigger projects, that's sort of what we do too. And they can do it during school though, so we're a little bit different there. But okay, next question is this one I find very interesting, and it's going to be controversial. So okay, we're just going to start there. How do you manage the books for your older children? In other words, the way they asked it in the group was, do you censor? And I don't particularly like that, the way that question has been asked, do you censor? But that's what they're asking. Do you censor your children's books? And I look at it as protecting their minds. But anyway, y'all start. Lisa, we'll start on your end this time.
I'll just say heck yeah again. So yes, I would say you can call it whatever you want. We pre-read, preview, keep some things out of the house.
I agree.
Yes.
Okay. Heidi?
Books, movies, games, anything.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
Heidi?
I would say that I don't really censor.
She's a rebel. See, we're always have a rebel in the group.
I don't know that I feel like I've had to. I don't know if that makes any sense. I mean, with my teenager, most of her time is spent either reading something that is for her literature program, or we are in a mother-daughter book club, so we read a book for that. And I can only think of one, maybe two times when I've said, yeah, no, absolutely not. And that's about it. For the most part, and I just, I let her read what she wants to read, and I haven't really objected to much that she's read. Like I said, maybe twice if I said, yeah, no, you're not ready for that, kind of thing. But so I would say no, I pretty much let her read what she wants to read. But then again, like I said, I don't think her choices have been too outlandish. So.
Very good. Dorinda?
I guess you just have to define the word censor. I mean, it sounds pretty restrictive. it sounds restrictive, but I think I agree with Lisa in protecting our kids, especially the younger ones. You know, as they get older, I think they can handle more.
Yeah.
I certainly do not pre-read everything, or all I would be doing is reading all the time. So, and I really, some of the books my kids like, I'm not the remotely interested in. But if it comes recommended, I usually ask somebody that I know that's read it, or kind of peruse it a little bit, kind of find out what is the subject matter and that kind of thing. 'Cause my boys like stuff I do not like, you know, but they're reading. I think that's great. I try to go off book lists if I can, but you know, they'll go to the library and find something, and I'll just kind of look at it, and actually by the time they're doing that and reading those, you know, kind of thicker books with lots in them, I trust their judgment pretty well. And all of them have come to me and said, you know, Mom, I don't like the direction this book is going, so I'm just not going to finish it. And I'm just like, great, that's fine. We'll pick something else. So that's kind of how I've done it. A little tighter restraint when they're younger, and looser as they get older, and kind of letting them own it and make decisions about, you know, what they're reading, if it's appropriate.
I tell
or
you
not.
what's awesome that Dorinda can probably agree with is definitely when they're older, they get more, you know, until, I mean, I have adult kids who make all their own decisions in that area. But now that I have adult kids at home, I can be like, you know, your brother wants to read this book. Would you read it for me and
Yes.
tell me if it's okay?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if it's a series we've never heard of or something,
Right.
and they'll pre-read it for me. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We do a little bit. We don't do a lot. I'm like y'all. My kids are voracious readers, and I would literally spend every waking moment reading if I was going to stay ahead of the curve with them, or they would be on me fussing at me for not having read it, and they're bored. They want to read. So most of the Star Trek, I have, you know, they're really into sci-fi stuff and things like that. So most of that, you know, Lord, if y'all watched the Star Trek series from way back when, you know, Captain Kirk was quite the cavalier, wasn't he? You know?
Ladies, man.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, but anyway, so I'm sort of in the middle too, but it's something I struggle with, to be perfectly honest. So I'm glad the question was asked, because it's something I really do. I want to protect their minds. I want to protect their heart. I want to keep them as wholesome as long as I can. So I do. I struggle with it, but I do a lot of research. I don't pre-read. I have to be honest, but I do a ton of research. When they come with a book that I haven't heard of, I am out there trying to find reviews on it, and I don't mean. I do crazy searches, like I search for words like romance, or, you know, things like that, to try to see what's going to come up on this book, to make sure that it doesn't have the things that I don't want in there, so that I don't want them to deal with yet. So anyway.
And sometimes, Trish, like, I know you guys love the Henty. We love the Henty books. And so when those came into our life, I read one of them, and then I haven't read the others. Even though my kids have read the others, I did some looking up and I asked around, but I did read one. So if it's a series and you can read one of them, even, that's, and you're talking about an early teen or teenager, it's okay. You don't have to read. I couldn't possibly read them all.
Oh, I know. I mean, darn, especially with as many kids as y'all have, I never would say it.
I do believe it's completely, to get to the core of the question, it's totally fine to, and you should pay attention to what your kids are reading and know what's going into their mind.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, the next question is, do you have a behavior or a reward system that involves aspects of school time, chores, everyday home life that you implement in your homeschool? So I can answer that real quick. Yes. My to-do list, their daily checklist, literally has all of their chores for home on their daily checklist. And so they're not successful in their homeschool day until all of those chores are done. And I literally last week just, I usually homeschool all year round. I've stopped homeschooling all year round this year because we're trying to get this house ready to sell. And so now I've replaced that to-do list for their school, that they have to be involved in helping me get the house ready to sell. So, Yeah, so we're even that is part of their quote homeschool. How
Absolutely.
about
It's a great
y'all?
experience.
I
How
have
about
a whole
y'all?
white I have a whole whiteboard list of things that our kids have to do. I think I showed it at one point and
Yeah,
we
you
talked
did.
about it.
You
But
did.
you know, so we have a whiteboard actually upstairs in our hallway in the middle of all of our bedrooms, that has a kind of a list of things that they need to do in order, starting with when they get up from, the things like brushing your teeth and your hair, making your bed, eating breakfast, those kinds of things. And then there's a line called assignment sheets, and I literally print out assignment sheets for the week,
Mm-hmm.
for their homeschool portion. So once they've done kind of what we call their morning routine and they've gone through all of that and checked all of those things off on the whiteboard, then they can come down and do their, work. Then we work through our homeschool day, so to speak, and then they have chores, normally 2 a day, and I rotate them around. I actually use alphabet magnets. I took the toddler alphabet magnets and made and made the letters mean something, like L for laundry or W for wipe down,
Cute.
and I actually move the alphabet magnets into their squares. Each day I switch around whatever it is, and like, and when I vacuum, my son is responsible for vacuuming the hardwood floors, or I might have wiped down and for my 8-year-old, and she'll say, well, which bathroom am I supposed to wipe down? And she empties the garbage, she wipes the countertop, she cleans the mirror, that kind of stuff. My teenager is responsible for the toilets in the bathroom. I just don't want my 8-year-old doing that. And right now I have my son on a laundry rotation, and so I'm actually teaching him to do the laundry, and so he's my laundry guy and we do laundry together. So absolutely, I have everything kind of lumped into one,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, it just feels like that's the way our house flows. Everything kind of goes together, and until all of your, those responsibilities are done, kiss your free time goodbye. You get free time when you've taken care of all of those things.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Dorinda? Dorinda?
Yeah, I'm like right on the same deal as Heidi. Oh, I think I'm on mute.
No, you're not. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, we're good. Okay. I had to cough, so I hit the mute button, and yeah, I must not have gone back on. But anyway, same as Heidi. We do a morning routine, and then we go into the school routine, and then out of that, usually after they're done with school, I do give them some free time, because that's a great time for them if they've been, dinking around with their schoolwork. Then, well, guess what? You get to do schoolwork during free time. And then in the later afternoon, I have like an odd job time, and that changes every day. It just depends on what I see as I'm walking through the house throughout the day. That's driving me crazy. If there's a cupboard that isn't organized, then that gets organized during that time, and everybody gets a few chores. I get them for about, I tell them, I'm yours, you're mine, for about a half hour to an hour. So don't even ask if you're done, because I'll let you know when you're done. and then we kind of move into the showers and the dinner hour, and yeah, it works real well. That's the same routine I've been doing since I was pregnant with our sixth, so 13 years. It's worked real well for us. So.
Yep. Lace, I know yours. You know mine.
I love
I don't.
laces.
I love laces. She does
I don't-
them. Tell about the Monday
Lay
morning
it
thing.
on us. Tell us.
Yeah, I've totally lost track of the question at this point.
She's
I'm
thinking
all
about
that's
it.
why I'm like,
thinking
give
of
us
alphabet
alphabet
letters.
Trish.
Yeah.
It's about chores and do you give homeschool reward systems, behavioral rewards, as part of your homeschool? That's comes from your everyday life. So, your daily chores. Is it part of your homeschool, and do you reward or have a behavioral system that goes with it?
I totally don't get what we're asking. I'm sorry. I'm probably just like thick
I'm
brain.
confused by the reward part too, because
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Well, a lot of people would have. I mean, Heidi has it. Heidi has a check off, and so that is her reward system. Is your check? I guess you're checking it off, and then
Oh,
do you
okay.
have a
Yeah.
reward system that goes along with that your the way that you track your homeschool.
Yeah, my reward system is you toe the line, you get free time. If you don't toe the
Yeah.
line, you don't get free time. Just, you either get to have your choice of things that you want to do in the day or you don't, depending on whether you've done the things that are expected of you. And, and that's it. And so they lose out. They lose out. That means they lose out on computer time. They lose out on TV time. They would lose out on, friends come knocking at the door. They would lose it,
Right.
because that's all encompassing in the, I guess, reward system, so to speak. The reward system is this is your list of things. You can see what you need to get done today. If you want to choose what you want to do later in the day, then these things get done. And until these things are done, sorry. So that means if, Johnny from next door comes knocking on the door, it's, well, I'm sorry, so and so hasn't finished their work for the day, so they can't play. So that, I guess, that would be the reward system that I have in place. You do your stuff, you get your time. You don't, well, then guess what? You're working till bedtime because you didn't get it done.
Yeah, it's called life.
Right. The laundry will still be waiting for me in the morning if I haven't done it. So, it's like it's kind of that, there's things that need to get done in life, and that's kind of how we take it here. It's like, well, there's things that need to get done, and if they don't get done, well, guess what? They're still going to be staring you in the face the next day, and so that.
If you're at Lisa's house, it's doubled.
Yeah.
Tripled. Lisa has a fantastic.
It's a character issue.
Yep. Lisa,
Right.
Lisa, share yours. I love yours.
I don't know which one you're. I have so many systems.
The bed. The bed.
No,
Back to
I'm not
bed.
going to tell that story. That poor. He's. All right. So
no.
this didn't have anything to do with school.
Well, it was a
he
character
was
issue,
making
and it
his bed
was
every
part of-
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just wouldn't do it, and he'd try to sneak it and not do it, and act like he didn't remember or whatever. So he has to. Then after that, he had to make his bed and my bed, and he still wasn't doing it. So at one point, he was making every bed in the house every morning, and if he didn't have it done before breakfast, he missed breakfast. So but now he's just down to 2 beds, him and his brothers, who he has to help his little brother.
Isn't that fantastic?
That's great.
beds.
I met Lisa 2 months ago in real life, and she was telling me that story, and I couldn't believe it when I talked to her again a couple months later, and he was still doing it. I was like, you got to be kidding
I'm
me.
telling you, this particular child is a tough nut to crack.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Well,
No,
we kind of had a hard lesson in all that this
Yeah.
morning.
Dorinda,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
met all at the same time at the same place, 2 to 1. Every one of us on this call were at 2 to 1. So
That's
isn't
right.
that fun?
That's right.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah. Well,
that
I
a
was going to
great
say,
set.
share a story from this morning. Yesterday, we went to an amusement park, so we were gone all day, and we got home kind of late. But it's hot here, and so any kind of work we need to get done outside, we have to get up early and go out and do it. And so I felt terrible, but I got everybody up at 6:30, and I said, we're going out to the garden, we're weeding, we're picking raspberries, and it's either now or it's going to be in really hot weather. And I did not have very happy kids, but they did it.
Wow. Yeah, we have had big gardens every year except for the last 2 years, and it is such a chore. And shoo, when you have huge gardens
is.
like we did last,
Yeah.
yeah, we're not this year. We're trying to get the house ready to sell, remember? So we're not doing any gardens
that's
this
good.
year. Okay, we've had a couple pop in to ask questions, but I'm going to stay on track and we're going to go back. So this has been a question that's been asked a lot, and I'm going to ask it, but I'm also going to encourage Kim to go to our group. Kim, if you're watching right now and you're not part of our Hip Homeschool Moms community on Facebook, go out there and do a search on Facebook for Hip Homeschool Moms community and join our group, because these are the kinds of questions that moms love to be able to help you with in the group. And really, where there's only 4 of us, and even though we've had a bunch of first graders, we're not going to be able to necessarily answer this as fully. Kim asked, what subject should I teach for my first grader? And I know that we've talked about this, but who's the closest to having a first grader? Is it Heidi?
I think Dorinda and I are
Dorinda?
the same. We have one. We both have ones going into 3rd grade, right, Dorinda?
I have a first grader.
Oh, Lisa has a first grader.
Okay, so
Lisa.
Lisa, what are you teaching this year?
Well, y'all know my philosophy is light and easy for a first grader.
I
So
agree.
math, and then he jumps in with whatever the other kids are doing on a lighter scale. If he was my first, I would do math, and then some sort of, I would do 5 in a row, where you read a lot and do little projects off of those books. 5 in a row is
Mm-hmm.
awesome, and it's
Mm-hmm.
affordable. You can get a lot of those books at the library, and so I would focus on that, and then I would throw in maybe one other little simple thing, or those workbooks from like Walmart and Sam's Clubs are great.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's all I would do. If you just
Mhm.
needed more work, I would incorporate just busy work.
Mm-hmm.
Or fun art projects or craft projects.
Yeah,
But
always.
yeah, teach them to read. That's my big thing. Teach them to read. Focus on reading
Yeah,
because reading
yeah,
is the key to everything. You
yeah.
know,
That's what
and
the 5 in a
once they can
row
read,
is. 5 in a row is
hmm
reading.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, teach them to read. That would be my 100% focus. I think. Y'all agree, Heidi, Dorinda?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what I did with my little ones. We did, like Lisa said, we had workbooks from like Barnes and Noble or whatever. We'd have some,
Hmm.
because our kids, kind of a general, because then they get general basic math or whatever out of it, and so we had basic workbooks. We did a lot of reading. I'm the unit study queen, and we did before 5 in a row, when my
Yeah,
kids were younger,
that's a
and
good one.
yeah, and so, but you can do that with any book, even without 5 in a row. You can take any book and turn it into, an extended learning experience and
Exactly.
do crafts off of it, and an
If you're
activity.
Heidi.
All right. I want to say though about the reading, because I've had a couple of kids who were in first grade and really were not ready to read.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
And
that's
that's
right.
really
Right.
okay. It was a blessing to me to have an older mom that said to me, "You know your child, you know they're smart, and they'll learn to read when they're ready. Just keep pushing, but don't be pushy and pressury about it." And
Right.
if
Right.
Right.
your child is not reading, and mother-in-law is all upset about it, just take
Tell
it
her to
from me then that it's
tell her to
really
take a chance.
okay and he's okay. Yeah, and don't put a lot of pressure on him. That could potentially cause him to hate reading. So
Absolutely.
I have
Absolutely.
had my oldest son, who's 22, did not read, really, really read until he was about 11. And he's
Mm-hmm.
in law school now, and he's perfectly fine. He reads all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, and I
So,
think that's
yeah,
huge right there. What she's saying is the real marker is, are they ready? Do they want to?
right,
Are they enthusiastic about it? Because
right.
I told myself, oh, I'm not going to push our oldest. I'm not going to do it. And when it came down to it, I did push her a couple times, and it ended up she was in tears. And I just thought, wait a minute, I said I wouldn't do this. And so I backed off and gave her extra time. And all my kids were later readers, and they are wonderful readers now. So I think you really have to take their cues. Especially for a first grader, I would just kind of keep it fun and keep it something they're excited about. And when it starts to get to be a drag, then you need to be done. And I used 100 Easy Lessons to teach your child to read and to
Yeah.
teach them to read phonetically and when they were ready. And sometimes it was, we did it a few days and then we stopped for a bit and went back to it. So again, just you don't want to squelch that love for learning. So just kind of follow their lead, encourage, but don't push.
Yeah, I
And try to make
really
it fun. You just
do
hit
want
the
to say,
Yeah, you just hit that nail on the head that I think, especially at that age, that Lisa and Heidi and I have talked about 1,000 times. Keep
mm-hmm.
it fun. Don't lose that enjoyment of school. Yeah.
Some
What
of
were you
them will love
saying?
to read. I've had some of mine when they're 4. They're
Mhm.
often reading. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I guess for me with that one child, and now I have had a second child with the same issue. I remember for years clinging to that woman telling me it was okay. So I just
Mhm.
want to give that same
I
permission
agree.
to the moms
Yeah.
whose little ones maybe aren't ready to read when they're 6 or 7.
Right.
That's right.
I
That's
agree.
right. Because they're all unique. That's the whole point of
That's
homeschooling,
right.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, let's see. We have a couple. And I almost hate to ask this one, but I'm going to pop it in. It says, Jasmine asked, how should we react to negative reactions about homeschool from loved ones? Mm.
Yeah.
For me, I avoid it. I just, I try my best to circle around the topic, or I use humor and try to diffuse the situation, but I completely try to avoid it. Because if it's a family member, if it's somebody that just doesn't know any better and they're not involved in our lives and they don't really have an impact, then, I might spend a few minutes explaining to them why I do it, but I dismiss them pretty quickly after that. How about y'all? What do y'all do?
I don't
Dorinda, I'll
offer.
start with you.
Okay. I haven't had a lot of, we've had a really supportive family, so that's been great. So I can't really complain about
That's
that. I
good.
think if I were in the situation, I totally agree with Trish. You just kind of keep it light, keep it, and just try to avoid the subject, talk about others, ask about them. It's really easy to get people to start talking about themselves. So, just ask them questions about themselves and just kind of divert the subject. And same thing with strangers, sometimes I'll explain, some people want to know, what is it like? What are you doing? And they're real curious, and I want to answer those questions. But yeah, I totally agree with Trish. I think that's a good way to handle it.
Heidi?
Oh, I'm not so nice.
Heidi's our resident New Yorker, y'all.
Yeah.
I
Fireball.
and this goes across the board for a lot of things for me, and a lot of things for life with my husband's and my family both. Now, I never had great opposition to homeschooling, but we've had a lot of other issues. And for me, I'm a no fuss, no muss, no fuss. I'm the parent. I didn't ask your opinion. I will make my decisions. I don't care what you think. So that's, I heard growing up my whole life, we're the parents, we make the decisions for you as long as you're under our roof, blah, blah, blah. And so I guess I kind of take that approach with people. Like, that's what I took. Like, I'm the parent. It doesn't matter to me what you think, or that you don't like that homeschooling, or you don't think it's, my kids are going to be well socialized. I don't really care what you think. I'm the parent, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I don't need your approval. So I'm not so nice about, and that's just my personality. I'm like, well, I don't really care what you think. You don't have to like it. You don't have to understand it. It's the choice that we're making. And I've done that with other things when people have had opinions in our family about our children and the choices that we make. Well, they're my kids and I get to make that choice, and it doesn't matter what you think. So I take the really, I guess, harsh approach, if you want to call it that. But I just, and I mean, when people outside of our family are curious about homeschooling, or, that's one thing. But when people kind of start to feel like they're grading and they're just kind of like, well, negative about the whole thing, then I change my approach back to what I used for my family and say, well, I'm sorry that you don't understand it, and you don't have to understand it, and I don't have to justify, my children to you. But if people are curious and they're questioning, I'm more than happy to talk about it. And we actually have been joking recently because lots of people are worried about socialization, and anybody who meets my child, you really have no leg to stand on when it comes to the socialization aspect.
Mm-hmm.
She's the most social child anybody has ever met, probably overly. So I guess, I take a little more harsh approach. That's just my
You're
personality.
okay. You're okay. You don't have to justify it to us either. Okay. Lise?
Oh, I think I would say I'm like Heidi, but in a southern way. So I'm not as harsh about it, but we've had a lot of opposition. Like Heidi was saying, on all kinds of subjects. Homeschooling was just one of many. And I welcome that. They know that basically they're welcome to speak into my life, but if they open that can of worms, I shall speak back. So these are our kids, and the Lord gave them to us, and He gave us the authority over them. And so thank you for your love for them, and you may keep it to yourself now that you've told me once. I'm sort of like, I'll hear it once, and then I won't hear it again. So, yeah. I'm more Southern about it, but basically like what you said.
Yes, you're much more sweet about it than me.
We're so blessed, though, I think, Dorinda and I, because we just I haven't had that kind of opposition. I haven't had to deal with that. So maybe I don't know. I have no idea why that's the case. I have 3 brothers and a sister. Only one of them homeschooled, so it's not like we have this huge homeschooling family. But I just haven't had a whole lot of, I guess we're all older, and everybody just sort of leaves each other alone. So I'm so blessed not to have to deal with that. I'm sorry y'all do. I'm sorry y'all have had to, but
Well, I
I
think
understand. I mean, I understand.
we can handle it.
Oh no, yeah. God gives you what you can handle, right? So,
Yeah.
I just think
I would
that
run off every family member. I would not have a single friend left if I had to do that. Literally, everybody would not be speaking to me after that. So,
I think as with a lot of things, people need to remember and try and have thick skin, and
yeah,
in general that their family members probably have good intentions, and you know,
exactly.
but in the end, it's not up to them, and and so like Lisa said, she'll hear it once, and thank you for your opinion, and that's it, and I think that that's something that people need to remember is that you are the parent, you do get to decide for your children, and and your family members may have good intentions, but the line stops there. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter, whether they're comfortable with it or not. That ultimately, that's that decision is yours, and sometimes you have to kind of grow some thick skin and learn to deal with the opposition.
Mm. This is a great segue into this next question. It says, Shannon asked how to handle the constant comparing of learning at home versus public school, how taking tests, time when you do things. That's that whole. That's again them trying to. Um, I know a lot of us don't naturally do that. Where we don't feel the need to naturally compare. Heidi's in a more restrictive state, so she has to deal with it a little bit differently. But for the rest of us, we don't, I'm not constantly comparing what everybody else is learning to what my kids are learning. How do y'all deal with it? What do y'all say? I mean, I usually just say, that's the luxury of preschool. I mean, the luxury of homeschooling. We get to, do it at their pace. Y'all agree?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons that we homeschool is so that our kids can develop and learn at their own rate without a lot of, people breathing down their necks and causing them stress. It just seems like kids are so different. I don't understand why the public school system keeps trying to do the same thing. It's not working, and obviously, I mean, and so why would we want to copy that? That's my thing is, why do we want to copy that? So one of the things that I really tried to ponder before when we were first, having kids and everything, I was and thinking about homeschooling. Well, I had actually decided in my teens that I would homeschool. So it just certain books came across. I picked up at yard sales. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just God, He just put it on my heart, and He had me. And I met people with kids that homeschooled, and I loved their family, and they were like the most social kids I'd ever met. So I knew that wasn't going to be an issue. But I think I thought about, how to, before we put them in school or before they're school age, there's so many things we teach them naturally. There's so many things that they just do on their own because they're natural learners. Why can't that continue into the homeschooling years? I mean, obviously, yes, we need to give them some tools. We need to, teach them math and different things. But a lot of their learning is so natural that why not just be the one facilitating and encouraging that instead of, I don't know, I call it kind of spoon feeding, force feeding stuff. Instead, letting them come to the buffet and eat, and we make sure they get the basic nutrition, but then let them, go to that buffet and pick for themselves and really learn on their own. So that's kind of my perspective
I
on it.
love that comment. That it's why do we want to copy them? That's a great question. Maybe that needs to be our response from now on. Why would we want to copy that? How about y'all? Heidi? Lisa?
Like you said, I live in New York State, which is a little more regulated, but we spend a lot of time. In fact, most of our surroundings are public school kids, and so our kids are often compared. Everybody wants to know what grade they're in, and I've had Jaden and my son, who's 11, in situations with friends on a team, on a sports team, and they're grilling him like with math facts and things, trying to figure out where he's at. And these are kids his own age, and now Jaden just happens to be really good in math, so of course he's ahead of the game. But and so as far as my kids are concerned, we've always dealt with it like this is the way of the world. People are always going to compare and try and figure out where you measure up. And we try and really keep our own focus on, it doesn't matter where you compare to anyone else. It's about where you're at and what you need and what you're accomplishing for yourself. And we do that a lot, not just in academics, but we've had to deal with it a lot with our teenager who's a competitive gymnast, and really focusing your energy on what your needs are and what your accomplishments are, and not what everyone else is doing. And so we get a lot of comparison, especially from public school people. And I try and keep it minimal as to how I respond, because I try not to be the usual rough and abrasive me, and I try not to offend all the parents and all the sporting things that we're in, and but try and be clear that we may not necessarily be learning the exact same thing at the exact same time that they're learning in school, that we may have done it last year, or we may be doing it next year, or and that because we're homeschooled, we can choose when we're going to learn certain things. And so I will often take that approach. But my overall feeling is, with myself and with the kids, that we need to kind of clear our minds of it, and not get involved in the comparisons, and really learn to keep your focus on yourself and where you're at, what you're learning, what you need to accomplish, and not what everybody else thinks you need to accomplish.
Lisa?
Yeah, great point, Heidi. Yeah, I was listening to you thinking, did they do that to the private school kids? Like, is it just homeschoolers? They're not grilling.
What a great question. I bet they do. I know they don't.
No, I know they don't, because we have kids in private school. My kids have friends that are in private school as well, and nobody thinks twice about it. They're very well known, and nobody thinks twice about that. But you're right, they don't.
Yeah, I would say
Montessori they did. Montessori they did.
Yeah,
because it's so different. It's so unique. It's sort of like homeschooling. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if we're talking about us comparing our kids outward, or outward people comparing our kids inward. I think Heidi kind of covered that as far as the outward. But as far as comparing ourselves, I compare each child to where I think they should be, and nothing else. And sometimes we don't measure up to that, and we need to catch up. But that's just my measure of rule. I have y'all know me, I have no interest in what else is going on, even one to each other. What he did in 7th grade is not necessarily what she's doing in 7th grade. So just compare your kids to where you think they should be, and don't worry about the rest of it.
That's a very healthy way of looking at it, I think. And I think that especially when a lot of the moms first start homeschooling, I think it's natural, it's normal, they don't really know how to judge if their children are growing when you first start out, as far as academically. And so I think it's sort of natural. But I think we all need to remember that it's not healthy. We don't want to be compared to, Susie Homemaker down the street, Lisa Pennington, that gets everything done and knows how to do it all well. And we're like, oh my gosh, she's got the most beautiful house. It was in Country Living magazine. Hello?
Their website.
Yeah,
well, and I think the other thing is, we all need to remember that it's not easy.
Yeah.
We can say, oh, you need to, kind of focus on yourself and not compare them. And no one, I don't think any of us sitting here are saying that it's easy to, that it is going to be difficult sometimes, and you are going to feel the pressure. You're going to second guess. You're going to, so it's not easy, but it's important. It's important that we all try and, keep that focus where we really think it needs to be.
And Trish, I remember it was not that long ago that you and I talked about, I think you actually mentioned this last week when we were talking together about listening to our instincts, and how when you first start out, you're not super tuned into that, and it's something that you learn, and it develops over the years as you're mothering and homeschooling, and it isn't easy. Like Heidi said, a lot of it is definitely a process, and a lot of times it's hard. But if you just continue that, and see it through, I think eventually you do get to the point where you are so comfortable with what you're doing with your family and with your kids that noise out there becomes less and less and less, and you become more and more confident. But that doesn't happen overnight. If you're just starting out homeschooling, don't be discouraged, because it is a process. It's a journey. It's the journey you walk with your kids and your husband, your families, it is a journey. You're never gonna do it all right. It's just about tuning into your own family and your own heart as a mom, and that can happen. It just takes time.
It does. It does. I agree. And like you said, the instincts. Start trusting your instincts. And Lisa, yes, congratulations that you were. I think that's very cool.
Oh, thanks.
I'm really good at. I'm going to when her whole family, when all of their family goes missing, y'all know that they're here, and I've only borrowed them. I will take them back, I promise. But they're going to be here for a month or so helping me. So yep. I'm going to hijack y'all. I'm excited for you. Congratulations. That was very cool. Her backyard, she has a bench and everything that they created around their pool, and it was featured in Country Living magazine. I think on their website, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's so cool. Congratulations. I'm excited for you. Yes, I tell y'all, that's why I want her to come help me get my house ready to sell. See? I want to be in Country Living magazine. I really am serious. I'm going to borrow her. Okay, next question. Mickey asked, is it stretching your child too thin if you put them in a lot of activities outside of homeschool? Her 4.5-year-old is doing soccer, dance, and she may start her in beginning cheer this year. She says, got to keep her busy or she'll get bored easily. And I think that's really another place where it's a very individual decision. Heidi, my lord, Heidi, you are the queen of extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
Is that too much?
It does depend on the kid. I mean, I was a kid that thrived on being busy, and so, I could go from one thing to one thing to one thing, and that was okay. But, any of you who have heard me hears me talk about the rat race and how I'm trying to get out of it, because it does get overwhelming. And so we try and keep it to one thing at a time. This is what I'm trying to do for the kids. In general, I mean, my daughter's a competitive gymnast. She's there 20 or more hours a week on during the school year. Now it's 30 or more, but so that's all she does. There is no room for anything else. But our son plays soccer year round, and he's joining the swim team. But 3 days a week maybe, and our little one does even less. She just she's maybe twice a week she's doing something. But so I do think it's an individual thing, but I also think that as a whole, what I see around with myself and people around me is that we're overscheduling, and that we're just not leaving enough time, enough downtime, enough creative play time, enough, go outside and figure it out time.
Yeah.
As a whole. And so I would say I wouldn't, be able to say, oh yeah, that's definitely too much to have your child in, but I definitely think that we all need to be wary of that, and because like I said, I've knowingly gotten caught up in that myself and been overscheduled and have really tried to keep that down, because as a whole, I think people are. And I think it's more so even for homeschoolers. I think that sometimes homeschoolers feel like they need to do this, 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 and this to kind of justify to the world that they're doing something. And I know that I have lots of people say to me, oh, yeah, well, you would need to do that for your kids because, they need the socialization or they need. And right, see, and I laugh. Thank you. And so I think sometimes as homeschoolers that we get caught up in that, maybe even more so, that like need to be like, wow, my child is doing this, this, and this, and we're so busy. And I recently saw that somewhere, and someone saying, so I think I might have reposted something about not saying that we're busy. Like we shouldn't be using busy. Everything shouldn't be when somebody asks, how are you doing? Oh, I'm busy. Like, that defines you. And so I don't know, I didn't sum that up very well, did I? But I would
Heidi,
definitely
I'm gonna hug you.
and it's easy to get caught up in, and you have to do what works for you. And like I said, as a kid, I thrived on being busy. Too much downtime, too much, was a problem for me. I would get unfocused, and I wasn't, I would get anxious. So I do think it depends on the child and the family as a whole and what works. But I think it is very easy to get caught up in a rat race that can really be overwhelming, and I've done it myself.
Somebody shared on Facebook the other day. It was called Amish Proverbs, Words of Wisdom from the Simple Life, and I have a quote that I left up on my computer, and it says, "Beware of the barrenness of a too busy life." Isn't that
Mhm.
great?
Mhm.
Barrenness of a too busy life,
Yeah,
and
and
I agree.
yeah, I agree too. I think for us, well, first of all, we live out in Timbuktu. Second of all, we have 8 kids. So if I tried to get them in all, I would never be home, literally never be home, and never be able to even homeschool them if we were doing activities after activities. So for us, it's been more of a country life, and our activities are at home. Our kids are involved in stuff, but it's usually seasonal. Like maybe they're involved in a play, and so they'll have practices for several weeks, and then performances, and then we're done. So that's kind of how we do it. Um, as far as like, I don't have kids that need to be going all the time, so. But I know there are kids out there like that. So for us, I really thrive on the relationships with the kids, and that's one of the reasons we homeschool. And a lot of times I've found that it's in the down times and the times when there's nothing going on that we have the most connected times in our relationships and conversations and things like that. So there has to be some time for that, to just kind of be together. And so that's something that we've just found to be important for our family. So.
Hmm. Lisa, you have a thought?
Just that, I mean, it's obviously up to the family and the needs of the child and the family, but I would say I would caution against filling up your time just to fill up your time. And like, which the question was, she was saying the daughter just really loves activity. Like Heidi was saying, she thrived on that. And, I don't think you want to teach your kids that we go take 14 classes just because she loves to be busy. I think you let her pick one, and your family makes the sacrifice for that, or two, whatever. I'm not. But the point is that she can learn to entertain herself without family busyness, and she can learn to. I have one daughter who thrives on busyness and needs like constant stimulus, and she always has. And we would say, well, these are some options for you at home to do for yourself. You can develop this. You can do it. And this little girl is 4. I mean, that's pretty young to be
Hmm.
constantly in activities. She needs downtime, and she needs to learn how to use downtime. So I would just say to try to work in some downtime too on purpose. Don't just fill up your time for the sake of filling it up.
I think it's about being intentional.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. Um, we have a couple of other questions that I'm going to recommend that they join our group, our Facebook group, to answer. Again, it's go to Facebook and do a search on Hip Homeschool Moms Community. What specific reading programs? How to create your own math manipulatives. Oh my goodness, those moms will absolutely eat you up and love you to death. So yeah, I think I'm going to encourage you both to go over there and ask those questions in the group, and I'll tell you that. I'll send you an email on that too. But this one is a really great question that I think I want to close with because I think it's going to take longer to answer. The question is, what do you do to keep from getting burnt out? She said, I feel like everything has been about homeschooling since we started planning. We don't have a support system or a close friend near. They had just moved to their location. She said, what can I do for myself and for hubby and for our relationship? And so that's more than just a homeschool question. It's a life question, but it's also, when they're in a neighborhood or in this new area where they don't have a support system, that's hard. How do you help moms walk that out? Lisa and Dorinda both have older children, and so I'm going to let y'all run this one.
Go ahead,
Dorinda.
I know you have wisdom for
I'm
us.
still thinking.
Have you? Okay, so one of my thoughts is, I know early on when we had just little kids and we would go on a date, and we would be like, let's go on the date and not talk about the kids. Like, let's just not. And you couldn't do it because it was all you had to talk about. But I would say, if possible, give yourselves, like, let's take this week and not have it be about homeschooling. And just let everybody have a little break from it if that's getting uh, tiring for you and your marriage. But yeah, I mean, the really cool thing, like Dorinda and I were homeschooling when it wasn't cool, or I was, and there weren't support groups everywhere, and there wasn't internet. And so she actually has a really good support system in the Hip Homeschool Moms community, which is so cool. And so she can look on that a little bit. And as far as local friends, just keep praying. God will send you what you need when you need it. And in the meantime, your online friends are there to help support you as far as that part of the question. And as far as burnout, yeah, just switch it up. Like, don't let yourself get burnout. Don't let it be all about homeschooling. So switching it up is my key to burnout.
Yeah, I agree with the not letting it be all about homeschool. Let there be a time during the day when you're hitting the books or whatever, but then live life together, get to know the area that you're living in, go explore with the kids. And when you're out, I mean, I found that we moved to an area where I didn't know anybody, and I had 7 little kids. They were all 11 down to a baby, and I knew no one. And so I found there was a little river that we could go to swim in the summer. I went there and I met more people there, and just people that I still know to this day, 12 years later. And so I think maybe just getting out with the kids and getting out with your family and kind of exploring the area and meeting people. And then as far as your marriage goes, talk to your husband. How does he feel about the conversations that are happening when you're on a date or whatever? Is he feeling like, I don't want to talk about homeschooling, or does he want to talk about it with you? Because, I mean, they can be a great support system if you're missing that live, in-person support system. I love to run stuff by my husband, but what I'll do is just usually make part of the date that, so I can get it out of my system, and then we relax and talk about other things after that. So that's another option.
Heidi, you got anything to add?
As far as gaining a support system, I tell people whenever they ask, and you don't know where you are, you don't know the people where you are, I always tell people, well, go where you would go. You will find people that are similar to you. We have local children's museum. Go to the museum during daytime hours. You're going to find people, you're going to find people there. Not, you don't even necessarily have to be, a specifically homeschooling group, or, because if you start to go to the places that you would naturally go to, you're going to find people there and make connections there naturally. And I don't know, did they say whether they have all young children? I didn't catch that.
She didn't. She just says,
obviously having older children makes it easier. We will leave our younger 2 home with our teenager and be like, see you later. Like last night, we got a new kayak and we wanted to test it out. And so, we said to our teenager, all right, we're heading out for an hour. Ship your sister off to her friend's house at such and such a time, because she was supposed to be going somewhere. And we'll see you in an hour and a half. And, off we go. There was a time when my husband, we kind of made a standing lunch date, and he would call me on lunch, and even if it's 20 minutes around lunchtime, and go in a room and shut a door to have a short conversation, just to try and touch base, because our kids don't often go to bed as early as we would like them to, so sometimes at night we're just too tired. So we tried to make time. There was a period of time where we tried to make time in the middle of the day for us to touch base, even if it's not a long period of time, something, because I know sometimes you're in a phase of life where maybe it just isn't working out as well as you would like, and so I would suggest trying something like that. Like I said, even if it's a phone conversation because your husband's at work, we've done video, as well, but often with the video, our kids are hovering around me, and they have to put their 2 cents in, so we used those kinds of things to connect when we couldn't physically be together, or we couldn't leave because our kids were younger. Then it's like, well, you try and put them to bed and get 20 minutes before you're too exhausted, or and we still struggle with that now. I didn't know that as the teenagers, they would suddenly become your best friend at 10:30 at night. And so our teenager suddenly at 10,
Yeah.
she may not be happy with me all day long, but at 10:30 at
Yeah.
night, she suddenly wants our attention. She's our best friend.
That.
She wants to
Yep.
snuggle. She
Yep.
wants to talk. And so that's been an adjustment for us. It's been an adjustment in our marriage, in our relationship, because we don't get that time at night, and I don't feel like we're in a place where we can push our teenager away. That's one time when she's actually open and really, she's willing to talk about things. And so, we've made that conscious decision that, there's still a limit to the amount of time we will give her, but that we need to give her that time at night. And so it does take away some of our time. So like I said, we were able to instead, we left for an hour at 6 o'clock last night, and got out for an hour, the two of us. And so
That's
it's kind of an ebb and flow to try and squeeze in, what you can with what's working with your schedule at that time, to stay connected to your husband. And I've been burnt out. I've been totally over the deep end, and it definitely wasn't worth it. If you can stay cognizant enough to say, what, it's all homeschool all the time is not the way to go. And I know Heidi, the busy mom, she'll tell you, all the time, it can't be all about homeschooling. And so you need to give yourself the grace to say, homeschooling does not have to be 24/7. I need things. My husband needs things. We as a family need things outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the not homeschooling, being everything about homeschooling all the time, sometimes I've been burned out too. So the other thing I've done is just taken a break from it completely. Just no homeschooling. We go and do fun stuff. And especially if you're in a new area, there's lots to explore and find out. So that might be an option too.
I agree. Good ideas, y'all. Great ideas. And we're out of time. It is after 11, so we're going to bid you guys adieu. I want to go one last time through our panel so you can go and visit them. Dorinda Wilson. Dorinda is at simplenourishinghome.com. I got that right?
Yep, that's right.
Heidi Ceravola is at Starts at 8. See, I'm getting better at that. I'm going to
Good.
get old at that, too.
Yep.
StartsaT8.com. Lisa Pennington from the Pennington Point. And myself, I am Hip Homeschool Moms, and also my personal blog is Live and Learn Farm. So thanks, guys. We appreciate y'all being here. Thanks, panel.
You.
Bye. We love
Bye.
it. Y'all have great,
Bye.
all of our little rebels out there. So y'all have a great week. And we love y'all, and we appreciate y'all, and we do love our team. I know we pick on each other a lot, but that's because we love each other. If we didn't like each other, we wouldn't pick on each other, right? So,
Right.
poor Lisa, I pick on her way too much. Anyway, y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, and probably same panel. So you'll get to see us again. Bye.
Bye.